discuss it for educational purposes. Lots of trades where you're not getting your second target. So the good thing is there's not a lot of stop outs. If we look at a little bit older DMM, very tight. So like you can see highs and lows of both potentially. The high is probably not in play. The high is almost 100 ticks away. That's a lot. And we haven't been seeing that kind of movement on this report. But the low is in play where you could have a magnet trade that would work on oil created by the news or before the news even would be a possibility. So first off, let's get our regular range, right? Not range, our regular breakout. We put our time back so it triggers at the right time. I don't think I've saved a template in ages on oil. So we'll do a template oil inventory. And I'll just date it 8/24. So we have it. So our oil breakout is ready. Possibilities. What would you do on an after the news trade for oil today? If price stays close to where it is, which it doesn't always do, you could certainly have a magnet to the downside. Let's say they're expecting almost 2 million in a drawdown. API had a pretty big drawdown yesterday, if I remember. I think it was in the 5 millions. That's big. It's not gigantic. It's big, not huge. It's not big enough to follow through on a Wednesday. You need like 10 million to do a follow through trade. What I'd like to see is oil go up for the next couple of minutes before the news, 10 or 15 ticks or so. And then you could actually set up a magnet trade. See, the thing that's interesting about the magnet, so we are 10, 26 ticks away. And we're already pretty close to the magnet. That's, partly because we've got tight ranges today. Tight ranges. We can see the high though, it's 100 ticks away. So like I said, I don't think the high is going to be in play. I think the magnet is in play. Let's say a 7% proximity, 15 ticks on the stop and the target. So let's say you really are interested in that magnet. I'm looking at it in Buellnox. So I've got a template with a proximity of 7, target of 15, and a stop of 15, just one position there. When you enable the magnet, you don't go in the trade. You can hover over the button and it shows you where your fill would be. 77.98 is my lower fill. It's pretty close already to the low there. So I think I would want my proximity a little bit further away. Let's say 10%. Apply it. Okay. Enable it. And now when I look at my fill, 78.02. Definitely better. Then we're 12 ticks away from the magnet. Okay. From the actual low of the day. If you want your target to be correct, you're looking at the difference in those numbers. In other words, where is your fill? 78.02. Where is the low? It's 90. It's 12 ticks away. So if I want my target close to the magnet, which I do, then my target should be 12-ish. 15 will be below the magnet. I really want the target to be a little bit closer to the magnet. I like my target to be not breaking the magnet, preferably. Whoa. So the question is it worth the risk before the news? I think there's a shot this is going to happen. It's going to happen with the news, I bet you. If I press the button, it'll trade it automatically. It's always risky, obviously. Any trade has risk. What I would rather see almost, you can still hover over the button. 78.02 is our fill here. Right now, I kind of prefer that the price do what it's doing. Now, the thing you can also do with the magnet is if you turn it off by pressing the button, it's not automatic. It'll blink when it gets to the fill, and you can press the button to enter. Before news, that the smartest way to do it, because look, you might not always want an auto fill before the news, right? You might not want an auto fill before the news. Let's look at oil. And look, you look at videos, it takes our eye off the market. We could miss the trade. This was last week. Last week, you could see it was a small spike. It hit the first target. It's just like what the DMM said. And then if you protected your target, it turned around, right? It did turn around. 78.02 is our magnet. Now, normally, another thing you want to think about is what if you play the magnet trade before the news, right? And you get filled and the magnet hasn't been hit, you haven't been taken out of the trade yet. Then you have an oil trade that in some ways it's a 50-50 trade, right? Because it just becomes, well, now you're subject to whether or not the news works in your direction or not. In other words, a magnet trade, it's best not exactly at the news. You can certainly use it that way, but one of the dangers or one of the risks is that you get filled before the news and the magnet doesn't fill and you're in the market and you're just naked, kind of waiting for the news, like without having your pants on. That's why normally my favorite magnets are not right before the news like we're doing today. Or maybe the news is the market open. It's not quite as dramatic news as a report can be. And it's also, you're talking risk. It's not so much risk. It's not going to blow your life up. Obviously you have to have enough money in the account to make the trade so that if it doesn't work, it doesn't ruin the account, obviously. So 7802. I want to show another video, but I don't want to take my eyes off the market either. If it'll pop up a little bit, I'll show you another video. So we're still, O2 is our fill. I mean, it has all the, it's exhibiting the kind of behavior that certainly makes me think it's going to fill before the news. You can always turn it on. I've got 5 ticks, right? Got 5 ticks. The risk is it won't fill and you'll be in the market waiting for news, and then you have a random trade because it could blow up to the upside. See, that's, that creates some risk because, so I'm almost happy the market's doing what it's doing. Go up a little bit because I would consider trading the magnet a few seconds before the news. That setup I like. That way, if it goes your way, it fills you and hits your target. And if it goes the opposite way, there's no trade. So that's like a perfect magnet. But it may not cooperate. We have too many minutes and we're just too darn close to the low. So I don't know if we're going to get cooperation. I'd love to see it go up about 8 ticks. It's not going to do it. So we've got 4 minutes. That's your decision. You got to make it now. It looks like whether or not you think it's going to go test the low before the news. Oh, there we go. Do that. Go up. Go up. And of course, you don't have to trade it. You don't have to do it. You could say to yourself, oh, okay, this is an opportunity. It's not quite right. Frank, I don't like the mixed volume today on the breakout. It doesn't make sense on the breakout. Mixed volume on our after the news trades makes no difference because we're not trading high speed volatility at that point, and you have enough volume to get filled on your discretionary trades just fine. But the breakout with mixed volume, when we've only been really hitting target one, um, moves haven't been all that big. There's been cancels. It just, and the history of oil, it's smarter to protect your money. In my opinion, mixed volume is a negative. So right now the market's cooperating with us. Still, it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes to go. If price will sit, what I'd like to try and do is put the magnet on about 5 seconds before the news comes out. Without a fill. In other words, I don't want to be filled except by the news. So if it goes up, I don't get filled. If it goes all the way up to 79.10, in theory, I could get filled on the magnet to the upside. If it bursts 100 ticks, 93 ticks, which it won't. So I hope everybody understands what I'm doing, what the thinking is. We know our entry is 7802 around, you know. I don't think it's going to go test 7802 before the news, but it could. So we could wait till about 5 seconds prior and see if everything works according to plan. Oh, look at that terrible move. A terrible move. It's a build. It should test the low, and bingo, the magnet worked. Okay. Our theory worked perfectly. What a terrible move. But we got the benefit of the way oil is moving these days. A little bit herky jerky. We'll look at the breakout. But that's a great way to use the magnet trade. It's a great way to use the magnet trade. That was like, I mean, that was a market, a low pressure, high probability trade. It was a really good opportunity that oil is going to test that low. We almost couldn't lose if it went to the downside. We saw how we could have lost. It could have been such a bad move. It could have been a nick fill, right? It could have been a nick fill. It was possible we could have lost, but it was so in our favor to take that trade. That is the way, one great way to trade the magnet. It's a great way to trade the magnet. That's why I'm excited about this setup. It's a whole new thing. It's very different than a regular breakout. It's very different. It takes a lot of the risk away on some of these news events. This was not the way we originally designed this trade. It was not originally designed to trade news. We knew it would be effective. Magnets get tested. But, you know, it was new. We never really thought everything out. But I got filled at 03 and I got profit at 91. So I made 12 ticks.